giants that you face are the demons that play in your mind. The only goals that you can score are the limits that you set for yourself, whether it be the summit or anywhere else in between. There are no spectators to cheer you on, so many a times it's a lonely battle of your mind versus the elements. And on my journey onto the mountains, I realized there's so much similarity between the mountains and medicine. Very tall ambitions, both of them. Very costly, not just as far as finances is concerned, but costly in terms of the time you invest in it, the effort you put in. Very long to achieve success. A long waiting game with very small summit windows and positions at the top, and very risky. Both medicine and the mountains have taught me that the wrath of nature, the threat of death, but the courage to face both of them. Now, when you have a dream, the first thing you need, there are 4 Ds for success. The first D is desire, the desire to achieve your goal. When at 50 years of age, I decided that I wanted to summit Mount Everest, I approached a lot of schools in India for the basic mountaineering courses. But I was told that I'm too old for the basic mountaineering course. And such is life. There are going to be obstacles on your path, but you have to come to the second D, determination. The determination to find a way around it. I found this Canadian group called Peak Freaks who said, come to Nepal, climb with us. And as I did these peaks with them, they taught me everything that I needed to know about rock climbing, rope crafting, crevice crossings, crevice rescues, etc. And then they said, you can come back. This was in October 2012. They said, you can come back for a bit for the summit season in May 2013. Now, I come back to Bombay, not the ideal playing ground for anyone who wants to summit a mountain. There are no hills around us. And being a doctor, I have quite a pretty busy schedule. So I have to squeeze in 25 hours into a day. I wound my training schedule around my work schedule. I stopped using the car, I walked to work. Hinduja Hospital where I work has 16 stories. I stopped using the lift. I started running up the lift, running up the stairs, coming down. And I went into this high altitude gymnasium, which I happened to find in Mumbai, which sort of simulated altitude of 8 to 10,000 feet. So for an hour every day, I would go in there, hoping that I would be better acclimatized when I actually get onto the mountains. I landed at Kathmandu, and it so happened we were a team of 5, each one of us from a different continent. And then it struck me, 5 people from totally different, diverse backgrounds, 5 strangers with a common goal. And if we just come together for a common goal, there is so much that we can achieve in life. If you want to go fast, they say go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. He is Christian Bernard, the famous heart surgeon who did the first heart transplant. Everybody across the world knows his name, but nobody knows the team that is behind him, showing him as the first surgeon. The same thing, we all know about the Formula One race drivers, but look at the number of people behind who need to support him to put him onto the podium. And so it is in Nepal, or any mountain that you want to climb. The Nepali porters, the Nepali Sherpas, phenomenally strong people carrying these massive loads for you. And there's a team of at least 20 to 30 people who are unsung, and they are the ones who push you and help you onto the summit. And it's very important in life to have a good mentor. Mingwar Sherpa was my personal Sherpa on the mountains, and believe me, without him, or without, they are literally our guardian angels on the mountain. I am a commercial climber. I don't profess that I'm a professional climber. I'm a commercial climber. But these are the people who make it possible for us to summit the mountains. He helps me across these difficult segments. He encourages me. He tells me when to go, when not to go, and he helps us across. Now, wherever we go, whether it's for work or whether it's for leisure, respect local custom. Wherever we go, we should respect the local traditions, the local customs, move the prayer wheels in a clockwise direction. And before we actually step onto Sagar Mata, the revered mountain, there is a puja that is done. It is important to do this puja because you're seeking permission from Sagar Mata to step onto her. And only after this that we step onto the mountain and start climbing her. Again, it should always be responsible tourism. Only leave behind footprints and no garbage. Before we reach Everest Base Camp, we come to this place called Monument Hill, where we see a lot of memorials of climbers who lost their lives. it hits you hard. Yes, you are going into a difficult terrain. Do you really want to do this? There are many doubts in your mind. You have to fight a lot of demons in life to get to where you want to succeed. And it's important to stay steadfast. So not just the desire, the determination, but the discipline to continue doing it and seeking your goal. Dare to fail. You are going to stumble in life. Dare to fail, because if you have not stumbled, you have not tried hard enough. This was a lady climber who slipped and fractured her ankle when I was climbing Island Peak for the training thing. We got a helicopter and evacuated her to Kathmandu. Again, but she was back 2 years later, summiting all the mountains in Nepal, and last 10 years she's done a lot of climbs across the world as well. This is me in the Khumbu Ice Fall, a stark reminder of what a speck we are in front of nature. We are nothing in front of nature. The first time I went to Camp 1, I got caught in a bad blizzard. And it's really scary for me. Howling winds, I didn't know how long this is to last. Again, you want an excuse, there are hundreds of excuses to run away back home. I can always say I'm a surgeon, I depend on my fingers. What if I get frostbite? My profession is gone. But this is where you need the hope. It is hope and optimism that will keep you alive on the mountains. At the same time, remember all the trash you've left behind in the city. The expectations of people, that is what's going to kill you. Your family, your colleagues, your co-workers, they have so many expectations out of you, and that is what burdens you down. But most importantly, the burden of your ego. Leave this all behind, and you'll have just a light backpack, and it's easier to reach your summit, whatever it could be. While trekking through the Kumbh, I realized that silence is the best sound. Why so? Because the farther you go into the mountains, actually the deeper you go within yourself, and you realize your strengths, you realize your limitations, and you can work on those. When I came to the Khumbu Ice Fall, the Lhotse phase, I was struggling up this Lhotse phase. It's solid blue ice, very steep incline, and it struck me over there. I'm doing this on a whim. If I want, I can just turn around and go back home. But what about my cancer patients? However tough the going gets, they have to continue fighting. And I got strength from that, and I continued up the Lhotse phase. You reach Camp 3, you can see here one of my teammates had removed the socks. It's very important at the end of the day, however tired you are, take care of the little details. Wipe the sweat off your toes, which may turn into ice and cause you frostbite. There's a saying on the mountains, it's not the mountain that will kill you, it is the pebble in your shoes. So take care of the little details, and the big picture will automatically fall into place. We started off from Camp 4 at around 7 o'clock for the summit. 7:30, I was exhausted. 9 o'clock, my headlight packed up. And again, this is where teamwork comes in. Everyone supporting each other, pushing each other on, and somehow you get through the night. I'm not ashamed to say, when I came to rocky segments like this, I was literally crawling across because I was so exhausted. But you're not going to let go of that dream of yours. You see the summit, but never lose focus. Again, there are going to be obstacles along the way. This is the ridge, and I got very nervous at this ridge, and I shouted out to my Sherpa. I said, should I slip to the left or the right? He said, fall to the right, you live longer. The fall to the left is 7,000 feet. The fall to the right is 9,000 feet. In tense situations, use a little humor. It dissipates the tension, it eases you, and helps you across these difficult segments. And then you see the summit, you know you're going to achieve the summit, and still you're slowly walking. You're at 29,000 feet. You can't run across to the summit. Every step I took, I had to stop, I had to regain my breath and take the next step. A lot of people ask us, all the summiters would have been asked, Arey, how is it on the summit? You must have been so happy dancing there. It's not so, because it's playing on your mind. Most of the deaths on Mount Everest happen on the way down, not on the way up. You have to remember this. Also, you've got limited oxygen supply. The weather can change in a jiffy. So you just spend a few moments on the summit, you take your photographs to document that you reached the summit, and then you start on your way down. Reaching the summit is optional. Getting down is mandatory. So remember, always have a little in your tank, because you need to come down safely. That is most important. The mountain will always be there for you to climb later, but you have just one life. So it's extremely important to be careful, however big or small your summit is. On May 19th, 2013, at 9:10 a.m., I had the honor on standing on top of the summit of Mount Everest. Thank you. But it's important, as I said, that you still have to come down. So there are two messages I would like to say. One is the perspective. Have an optimistic outlook at life. When I passed out of school, this was the final mark sheet that was put up on our notice board. And I told everyone, I've done well. I've come out in the top 25 of my class. I didn't tell them that there were 25 people only in my class. And if there's a message for the youngsters and for everyone over here, it is to dream big. Dream big and take that first step. Because when you stand on the summit of your Everest, whatever it may be, it's not the summit that you would have conquered, but yourself. Thank you. Namaskar.